Hello, I'm Avery or Hazel or Kylie. You can just pick one, I don't care.
Hello, I am Lily.
And welcome to the From the Closet podcast. Today we are covering Agent Carter Season 2. So obviously there's going to be spoilers for Agent Carter Season 2. If you'd like to avoid them, there is a link in the description below to Just Watch, which will have links to all the places that you can rent, purchase, or stream this series. Currently for us here in the US, it's on Disney Plus. Our Just Watch link is to the US version of the site. However, if you use the Just Watch app, it will automatically redirect you to your country's page. If you use the website, you can change the country from the website page. Normally, I would tell you what you can join us for next week, but we don't know.
Oh, we don't?
No. Did you not hear
Huh.
me before when I was saying that before we started recording? Like, we actually don't know
I
what's coming
guess
next
not.
week. We switched up the dates that we ended up recording our two TV shows for March. We're back in February right now in terms of recording this. So we swapped the recording dates of the two TV shows that you're going to see this month, which means that we ended up recording this episode before finding out what Monday's episode is going to be. So, unfortunately, I couldn't tell you, but I mean, if you want to know, actually, let me just open up a tab here. If you do want to know what we are doing next week, you can go back and listen to our Spider-Man 2 episode, which should have come out yesterday. And that'll tell you what we're doing on Monday. I can't tell you what we're doing on Tuesday because, there's no way to even announce that. Like, that would literally get announced on next Monday. Anyway, you can join us next month, however, for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3. Okay, so also in the description below, you'll find a link to our Patreon where you can vote on future episodes of this show, as well as get access to episodes of this show early, as well as early access to episodes of our sister show, Off the Shelf, which is about books. That podcast is exclusive to YouTube and Patreon. Also in the description is a link to Anchor.fm, which contains links to every single platform that this podcast is on, as well as links to our Instagram and Twitter, where you can be notified when we release a new episode. And apparently our Instagram has been blowing up recently, so thanks.
It actually started stabling out.
Still, though,
We're now at a stable 55, which I believe it's more than your subscriber count.
Yeah, which is just kind of wild to me. But then, it's not that shocking because, for almost all creators on YouTube, they get more viewers than subscribers. Way more.
Sadly, that applied.
Yeah, and the podcast obviously gets more views on YouTube than it does across all other platforms combined.
That's true, though. I'd also count one of our other platform views as more significant because someone can just go onto a YouTube video, realize we're not just uploading the entire movie, and then click off.
I feel like most of the time people aren't clicking because they think it's the entire movie. For some of our longer episodes, that would make sense where we go over an hour. But in most circumstances where we're typically around like 35 to 50 minutes. I don't think that's likely. Now, I do think sometimes people are looking for content on YouTube, like upload it, just straight up upload it, and then they find us and watch us anyway. Uh, the analytics seem to indicate that, especially with Gravity Falls,
Hmm.
for some reason. But yeah,
I see.
anyway, with all that being said, if you'd like to avoid spoilers, please get out of here now, because we're going to start discussing the show. And honestly, I gotta say, it's a shame that this
Hmm.
show got canceled. They let like there was a lot of very clear setup in this season for a season 3, and we just
Oh
never
yeah.
got it. And if any of that stuff got wrapped up, I don't know about it.
I wonder if they'll try to revisit it in Agents of Shield.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they will in season 3. I mean, I've seen half of season 3 before. So,
I
you
mean,
know,
that's still leaving us with like 3 to 4 more seasons.
yeah. And then there's also the Inhuman show, which I think was supposed to, like, from what I understand, the Inhuman show doesn't tie that much to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it was supposed to tie more in season 2, but it got canceled after one season.
Hmm. I heard that there was actually a good reason for that. It wasn't very good.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, they had actually made plans to make an Inhumans movie, and then they didn't do it. But yeah,
This show is super interesting. The dynamics between all these characters very engaging. That's the word I was going to go with.
see, the weird thing to me is that this season's taking place in LA. I don't know, it
Hmm.
just seemed kind of random. And then, like, everybody, like, all the major characters somehow ended up in LA. And it's just like, huh. It feels a little bit convenient to me.
I guess that makes sense. One of my favorite lines was actually from Jarvis when he reveals that Howard Stark donates to all the politicians, so just whoever wins, they've they'd find it favorable.
Yeah, I mean, I mean it's a good tactic, I guess.
It reminds me of that meme. It's like I play both sides, so I always come out on top.
Yeah, and I mean it's Howard Stark. Who can really be surprised? He didn't really like it. We're seeing a point in Howard Stark's life where he's still kind of, in general, just a dick. He really becomes a better person once Tony is born. And
Just not towards Tony though.
yeah. And then also in this season, we're seeing the SSR kind of falling apart. And like these events really, really are the catalyst for the founding of Shield. Granted, Shield is already being worked on before this show even starts, and Peggy already knows that she's going to be leading Shield with Howard Stark. But the
I
burglaries in
wonder.
the burglaries in season
Sorry, I
one
just
delayed the founding of Shield.
huh. I'm just wondering. Was there plans on having season 3 being the last season, and that's when Shield is founded?
I don't know. But even if season 3 was the last season for the SSR, it wouldn't necessarily mean that the show couldn't still continue with her being the head of Shield.
That makes sense, but I mean, I feel like that'd be a good ending point.
Yeah. But you know
Because, like,
who's
this is where S.H.I.E.L.D. starts.
but you know who's really the best character of this show?
The entire show. Who's that?
Anna Jarvis.
I find it hard to disagree.
Yeah, she is just such a fucking treasure. And I was like genuinely shocked when she got shot.
I mean, I'm glad she didn't
I
die.
mean, I am very glad she didn't die, and it's like also really heartbreaking for like it's really heartbreaking for Jarvis, and understandably he goes on like a quest for vengeance, which just makes the
But
fact
those
that he
usually never end well.
yeah they usually never end well, and like it makes the fact that we know he basically helped raise Tony like it holds a lot more weight because of the events of this show, he was never able to have children of his own.
I was also thinking, like, um, it also answers why we would never see any descendants of him.
Yeah, it's
Especially
really
with such
heartbreaking.
a wonderful wife, you know?
Yeah, like honestly, she's just fantastic. And so the other thing is, I was wondering, like speaking of descendants, I was wondering
Hmm.
if what was his first name? Last name Thompson. I can't remember his first name, but
Hmm.
couldn't help but think, is this guy related to Flash Thompson from Spider-Man? He's one of the kids that goes to Peter Parker's school.
I wouldn't. I would not know.
And like,
Wait,
see,
isn't
here's the thing.
Thompson the person that later hooks up with Carter?
No, that is Suso.
Okay.
Thompson is the guy who was basically a dick. He was the chief of the New York SSR branch.
Oh, didn't he fucking die?
I don't recall seeing him die.
Yeah. It was one of the scenes that set up season 3, where he was packing up his suitcase, and then someone visited him with a gun and
Okay,
shot him.
yeah. I do remember that he got shot. Okay, it's possible he didn't die though.
It's possible that he didn't die,
Yeah,
but
like
let's be real for a second. He got shot. I guess I will have to replay to see where he got shot. But like, there wouldn't be anyone to help him, especially in the near vicinity.
I mean, being realistic, another character got shot in another Marvel property recently. Hell, he got shot in the face, and we're not expecting him to be dead either.
Okay, fair enough. Counterpoint, though, this is the 40s.
I don't know,
With
like
Howard
maybe.
Stark, which
I mean, even if he
I'm sorry,
doesn't
this is
die
the 40s,
here,
and Howard Stark is in the fucking 2030s.
even if he didn't die to the bullet, I don't think it matters because we never got an Agent Carter season 3, and it's in the 40s, and mainline MCU is already 80 years ahead of that, so he's probably dead
I mean,
anyway.
obviously he's dead. Yeah, if he didn't die here, he's gonna die eventually.
But yeah, I really enjoyed. I honestly, I really fucking enjoyed both of the Jarvises. Like they were my favorite part of this season. Um, the the dude who was married to the main villain, I can't remember his name. Um, he just kind of seemed like general pushover, and it was kind of annoying to see him on screen. Like, the whole time I'm like, grow a fucking spine, dude.
Wait, wasn't he wasn't his name Cal?
No, it was not Cal. I know it wasn't.
Because I might.
I
Oh yeah, there was someone that loved him. That was loved her. That was named Cal.
no, see, I know we were discussing a character named Cal Johnson earlier, but that was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm. But there's someone in this series also named Cal, and that's what brought it up. At least that's what I was thinking about. And
Okay,
I
so Whitney
know
Frost.
that.
I'm looking up Whitney Frost just so I can see
Okay.
her family connections. But also, apparently, in the comics, she is known as Madame Mask, and I did not realize that.
Huh. Interesting. But I
Yeah.
remember, I specifically remember it was Cal that was ending up falling in love with her, at least in the end. I could swear that the person married to her died, but here we are.
Okay, wait, no, his name was Cal. It just wasn't Johnson. It's Calvin Chadwick.
Yeah. And because I had I wasn't relating them to be similar or even the same character, but I do remember making jokes like do not be married if your name is Cal and also in the MCU.
You know, I can't think of any other
MCU TV
Cals.
show specifically.
Yeah. I can't think of any other Cals in the MCU at all. So,
Yeah,
you know, you might be
all
right.
Cals in the MCU have will end up having crazy wives that they will either have to kill or get killed by.
Yeah, it's kind of insane because like she literally kills her husband after he finally does something to stand up to her.
Well, actually, then who was that man that, or shit? Oh, that makes more sense now. She was going insane. I forgot about that.
Yeah. She went kind of nuts there for a bit. And
Because I remember seeing Cal alive after she already killed him.
well, okay, to be fair, I don't know if it's fair to say that she killed anyone. Um, because we don't really know if that black goop is actually killing them.
Hmm.
I mean, it didn't
Or wait, am I
kill.
thinking about someone else?
I don't know. Maybe you are. I can't. I can't recall. Like, to
It
be
was the
fair,
person distracting her while she was while she wanted to draw all the other things.
sorry. It's a little hard to keep her entire entourage straight because most of them, like, there's too many of them, and almost all of them are inconsequential. I was mainly focused on her.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's just doing me more harm than good overthinking that.
Yeah. But Madame Mask is an interesting villain to pull from. So the other thing, like, I couldn't help but notice that there was a how do I put it? There's an interesting coincidence here in that our main villain's last name is Frost, and this whole thing is started from an investigation of a character, like of a dead body frozen in a block of ice.
Hmm. Sure, that's not a one. It probably was.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. The other thing too is like I we see more of Peggy's backstory and stuff, and I just couldn't help thinking, good lord, how much has this character had to go through? It was
God, I know, right?
like she lost her brother, and then she lost Steve, and then for a while she thinks she's lost what's the guy's name? Uh Wi- James Wilkes. No, Jason Wilkes. That's it. Jason
Yeah.
Wilkes. Um and like
Which I could swear reminds me of someone. Hmm.
I would it's kind of reminding me of Katniss Everdeen actually, because she loses her dad,
Really?
and then her mom just kind of
I mean,
completely
the actor reminded me of someone, but yeah, you are right.
yeah, like she loses her dad in a coal mining accident. Her mom completely spaces out and like isn't really present. So she has to become the parent of her family, and then she's like in the games and she loses her only ally. Um and then she's forced back into the games again. Manages to escape, but leaves the person she loves behind in the Capitol. And then another person who she's not sure if she loves or not, at very least, she loves him as a friend, volunteers to go save him. And well, for a while, it's unclear if either of them will make it out alive. And that's just from what we've
And
seen
that's
so far. You have no idea what happens in Mockingjay Part 2.
not a clue.
Yeah,
Though
so,
also, I mean, there's another aspect that I believe um, Carter's love interest, whoever that ends up being at the end of her life, I believe they die first.
yeah, it's very much implied that whoever she ends up marrying dies before she does. And the other thing that's implied too, no, it's actually outright stated, is that at some
Hmm.
point, whoever becomes her husband was saved at some point by Steve Rogers.
Was, oh God, was he saved by Steve Rogers, the person that we see that could be?
If we're talking about Suso, I don't know of a situation where he was saved by Steve Rogers, but I do know that like Peggy Carter in Winter Soldier says that Captain America, Steve Rogers, saved the man who would become her husband.
It makes you wonder, is it just something we don't know about this character? Or
Yeah,
did Peggy Carter marry someone else?
yeah, like it's kind of up in the air, and I don't know if we'll ever know because I mean it's complicated.
I
The
guess,
show was
as you say, it's
canceled.
just all in the past.
Yeah, like the show was canceled, and I think anything that Marvel Studios does with Agent Carter from here on, sorry, with Peggy Carter from here on out will be Captain Britain stuff. So
And,
Agent,
I mean, right now it's kind of irrelevant. We have the MCU, which is so farther away right now.
yeah, there is
I mean, this
one
is the
last,
1940s. We're dealing with the future right now.
and like I guess technically this isn't the last thing involving the main universe version of Peggy Carter that we'll be covering on the podcast. However, the other thing is like it's a one shot. It's very short, and it's likely only going to be covered in a bonus episode.
So there's matter, there's antimatter, but you're not ready for no matter.
Specifically, zero matter.
Peggy Carter gives zero matters about this.
Yeah, it's I don't know. The action scenes in this show were interesting. I'll say that. Seeing Jarvis actually fight was seeing Jarvis fight was very entertaining.
I mean, it's not as much action as I would like. You know, I think I like my action in between like this and something like an MCU movie, which obviously that'd be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I think this show makes a good companion to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it doesn't really overstay its welcome. Like, the seasons are very short, comparatively.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say they're about
like
the length.
It not over.
Sorry. I feel like they're about the length of the Disney Plus MCU shows that they started doing in Phase 4.
I do want to say something. Despite it being so short, it still has a lot of conflict backed into it. Like, we don't just see the good guys winning constantly one after the other. It's a genuine struggle. In fact, I would even say that the villains are winning more in these shows.
Yeah, like
before,
there are major
the good guys eventually just wins.
Yeah, like there are major setbacks that actually matter, like losing access to most of the SSR resources for one thing.
I mean, even in season 1, you had stuff like Peggy Carter being branded as a criminal.
Yeah, and another thing too with this season, I was actually kind of expecting this whole criminal organization to be tied to Hydra in some way, because I just kept getting Hydra vibes from that one guy in the FBI.
Nope. It's just false.
Yeah, it wasn't Hydra. And I guess
season 2, like season 1, season finale, they just set up what would be Hydra. I guess they never I don't think they ever had plans on like fully setting up Hydra on screen.
Yeah, I think the big issue is this criminal organization couldn't be Hydra because Arnim Zola is the one who rebuilds Hydra, and he doesn't do that until he is recruited into S.H.I.E.L.D. through Operation Paperclip.
So there could be no Hydra being set up.
Yeah.
Without
they did kind of set it up at the end of season 1, but there's no payoff to it because this show got canceled. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I will be honest, any form of Stoward Hark is a freaking riot, man.
I'm sorry, you just said you just said Stoward Hark.
Please ignore that. Anyway, Howard Stark. You know what? I think the original, the one I originally said, is a better name for him.
Stoward Hark. Yeah.
Or more like Howard Stank.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that.
Anyway, but any scene where he's in it's just a riot.
Yeah, and like I don't know,
I
his womanizing
sorry,
nature kind of just gets on my nerves sometimes, but it's also who he is. Tony was like that too for a while.
I don't know. I kind of like that part of him. Like, obviously, I wouldn't want to meet him in real life, but it kind of makes it a little bit funny.
There were some scenes where it was funny, like I can't remember the fucking scientist's name, but he's speaking. Howard starts speaking to Rose, and he's like, "No, please, Mr. Stark is my old man. Call me Howard." And then the scientist guy, who no one likes, was like, "Can I call you Howard?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah, I understand like why it got so on his nerves, but I think every scene that he's in, I'm just straight up loving it because I like how interesting his character is. He's not
There's
a
also
villain, but he's nowhere near a good person.
yeah, and there's also this another joke where I think it's I think it's a flashback scene where Edwin Jarvis is talking to his wife, and he he's talking about Peggy Carter, and he refers to her as one of Mr. Stark's associates, and the like, I don't know. It's kind of funny when he says, "Actually, I think he respects her."
That's an interesting thing. Actually, hell, when Howard Stark respects anyone, let alone gender.
Yeah,
I think one of my
it's
favorite moments is when Jarvis is like when the three scientists are together, and Jarvis like you can hear their egos growing.
yeah, that was funny. I love Jarvis. His comedic timing is great, and we will see him again as a like actually as a
Hmm.
human, but not this one.
We have a very big progression. Jarvis, just I guess a name, because it's not the same person the entire time. But
No,
just
not at all.
Jarvis in the MCU is kind of interesting. Goes from
Yeah,
a
like
human to an AI to a cyborg kind of thing.
yeah, it's weird. So like we have the human Jarvis, and then after his death, Tony creates an AI version. Like it creates an AI also called Jarvis with the same voice, but they don't at all have the same personality.
No, but his Starky nature does apply.
And then the Jarvis AI it gets grafted into Vision along with some of the Ultron AI, and then there's the Mind Stone as well. And
And creates another new person as well.
yeah, and then some things happen with Vision later that we can't get into right now.
I mean, we can't get into that, but more importantly, Avery can't get that into me because I still don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just gotta say it, like Paul Bettany is fantastic at doing this. Like whether it's being a voice or actually like acting on screen, he does a damn good job. And Haley Atwell, who plays Peggy Carter, she does a fantastic job as well.
All the actors in this show nail their deliveries.
I also really like Dottie Underwood as a character in this season. I wasn't really that fond of her last season. I found it a little bit interesting, but she wasn't really a major player, so I didn't care much. In this season, she's fucking great.
Mm-hmm. There wasn't Dottie Underwood was the last missing threads in season 1, and just immediately gets resolved in season 2.
Yeah, I don't know. This show, it's a shame it got canceled, but I do think this season overall is good. I
I would
might
even say this season might be better than the first one.
see that's where I might actually disagree. I actually think season 1 had a more compelling, more interesting story.
I felt more interested into this story, if I'm being honest.
Like for me, season 1, like it tied in characters we already knew and things that were the main conflict revolved around characters who we had already met, namely Howard Stark and his
Mm-hmm.
secret inventions getting stolen. I found that a much more compelling plot, and also how it delayed the founding of Shield, to the point where like it wouldn't be founded until sometime after this show ends. Uh,
I guess, yeah. I
which
just I wish I had a third
I
season.
yeah, I will say the fact that it delayed the founding of Shield creates some really confusing timeline things regarding like how the Agent Carter one shot fits in. But the one shot takes place before the show happens, and like
Wait,
in
what?
the one shot, Peggy receives a call from Howard Stark saying that like her time with the SSR is over and she's going to be running Shield with him. But then like Shield isn't even founded at this point, not completely. And
Hmm.
yeah, there was some delays because of the burglaries and such, and also apparently at some point between the one shot and the show, the chief at the New York branch of the SSR was changed. But I
Right, because
mean,
the last one sadly passed away.
no, I mean between the one shot and season 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Does that mean? Oh, Jesus Christ! Damn, he wasn't even chief that long before death.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, from what I've been told, or not even from what I've been told, from what I've seen, on like the MCU wiki and stuff, the show starts a month after the one shot.
Okay, then.
Yeah. So
So the one shot was made before the show.
yes, long before the show.
That complicates things.
It really does.
But oh
And
well.
a lot of people really think they can't both be canon at the same time, and they can because they absolutely are.
I mean, I guess they can be. If I had to pick one of them, the one shot's absolutely the one that's gonna get at the axed.
It sure seems that way because of events in Avengers Endgame, but I don't think either one of them's getting axed. Just being honest. But yeah,
I'm just saying, if
I
I had to
don't.
pick one.
So just one more thing to touch on before we wrap this up. Uh, there's some pieces of humor in this show that I've really enjoyed, and we discussed them earlier before we started recording. A couple of instances of meta humor where at first Peggy is at Howard Stark's new movie studio where he's shooting a movie based on a comic book. And Peggy's like, a movie based on a comic book? That sounds dreadful. It's just like, you know, it's funny because this entire show is based on a comic book. But of course, also, Peggy would think that.
Why would she think that? I mean, I don't really know much of her character.
I mean, I feel like you do, though. Like, we've fully explored her character in Captain America: The First Avenger and this show. There's not really much else.
I just don't really feel like Peggy goes out to the movies.
I mean, she literally says she doesn't go to the movies.
Knew it.
Like she says it in this season. But yeah, I just found it to be a funny line. And then there's also a later line from Jarvis saying, "I have no desire to become a disembodied voice for the rest of my life." Which
I mean,
just
technically, it's not that voice unless we don't really know much about the death of Jarvis. Do we?
I mean, in the MCU, I don't think we do. I'm actually kind of interested to find out.
Yeah, like, would it be a possibility that Jarvis, like the human, was made into the AI by Tony?
I don't know.
I just wonder if that's like, I don't even think it is, like, that's what happened. But since we don't know what happened, by a stretch of an imagination, could you almost infer that?
See, I decided to pull up his page on the MCU wiki, and it doesn't even have a date of death. It just says status deceased.
We really don't know anything about. Actually, we don't really know anything about him after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Not Agent Carter, do we?
I mean, we do know that he helped to raise Tony Stark, so he at least lives into the 70s. And well, hell, see that not only do we know that because of like backstory that we've gotten of Tony Stark, but there's also some scenes in like time travel stuff that show him alive in the 70s.
Interesting.
But
I mean,
yeah,
Peggy survived. I wonder if Jarvis did for at least a good amount of time. That would give Tony enough time to mature and be able to develop the Jarvis AI.
Yeah, I mean, Peggy for sure outlived Jarvis. I mean, she dies in, I think 2015. I think that's right. I think that's when Civil War takes place, is in June 2015.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but the possibility is there if Marvel wants to go that route.
Well, like we know that Tony like didn't create the Jarvis AI until the actual human Jarvis died. Yeah, okay. So I just looked it up. I just looked it up, and Peggy Carter dies in June of 2016.
But how do we know that Jarvis, that Tony didn't make it until Jarvis has already died?
I'm pretty sure that's like literally stated in one of the previous movies.
Hmm. Weird. I mean,
I'm looking that
I
up
don't
too.
remember it ever, like, the actual human Jarvis ever being mentioned in one of these movies. I know I was very surprised when Jarvis ended up becoming a real human, or was a human.
I mean, I wasn't, because, like, I've read some comics before and I knew he existed as a human being.
Hmm.
But I'm trying to figure out when, when in the MCU the AI was created. And I'm just not seeing anything.
Hmm.
I mean,
Honestly, I feel like this is. Hmm?
All I'm seeing on the MCU wiki is that Tony created the Jarvis AI after Jarvis the human died. Like, that's all
But
I'm
do we
seeing.
know that or not?
I'm pretty sure we do. Like, it literally says it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen plenty of wikis assume things.
No, this wiki is not in the habit of assuming anything. They do immense amounts of research to anything that goes into any of their pages.
Hmm. Well, I think this is a topic for another time.
Yeah. But anyway, I need to stop looking at this and then assuming I'm done with my computer and closing it and having to enter in the password again. So let's just wrap this up.
Got it.
So I got to get into critic ratings for this show because it's over. So IMDb gives this show a 7.9 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives it an
Hmm.
86%, and 80% of Google users liked this show. Now I'm done with this computer.
Um, I'd say this would get a solid 8.5.
I'm
How
going to
about
give
you?
this an 8.0.
Hmm.
I think this show's fairly good, and I don't know what I rated season one, but I think season one is better. Just in my opinion, the story is more compelling because it uses characters we've already been introduced to, and for a prequel, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
So it just kind of felt like this show was building up characters and stuff, and like other issues, and I'm like, I find it hard to find a reason to care because like all of this is taking place 70 years before anything else in the MCU.
Hmm. Yeah, I
But yeah,
guess. Yeah,
that's just my
yeah.
take.
That just makes sense.
But that's just my take. But we're done with this show. So wrapping up everything. I'd tell you what you can join us next week for, but we don't know. If you want to know you can see Monday, then you can go back and listen to the intro to yesterday's episode, and that will tell you what we're doing Monday. But we haven't actually recorded that episode, so we don't know. Um, you can join us next month for Agents of Shield season 3. But with all that being said, I've been Kylie. That's been Lily, and we'll be seeing you.